Hey guys, this is Chris. I'm out here just doing a little bushcraft practicing. I've just got some things out, some ropes and different things like that. I've got me some different wood I've pulled together, looking at maybe getting a fire going. So what I've been doing is going around and getting some things I can use for tinder, things like that. I've actually separated my wood also. So let me talk real quickly about the fire pit. This is a fire pit, back here in the little area that we've got behind our house. We've got the fire ring, and what I'm doing is I've got a big piece of wood in the back because in theory if I'm sitting out over here, I don't want the heat necessarily to radiate everywhere. By putting some kind of backstop back there, you're kind of radiating the heat a little bit forward. So that's one thing we're doing. The other thing is a lot of this stuff was just piled out here. I took everything off, separated between the bigger wood, smaller kindling, and then I left some of the leaves in there because I'm really just going to get a fire started maybe in one corner over here of this thing, get these leaves going and start putting some other things on. These leaves are relatively dry. We've got a little bit of rain, you can tell by the ground. It's a little bit moist out here, but not too bad. So I think if I get something going in there, it'll get the fire going. So I went around and looked for materials I had around here that can help with the fire. So here I've got some, what I think is rye grass. I've just seen it kind of growing around. It's really dry, so I think that's probably what's going to be able to start it off. Then you've got some definite dry leaves that are still on some dead branches off the ground, everything. Know they're dry, know they're good. And then I found an old tree and just kind of, I've got this stuff kind of crumbles. It's got a little bit of moisture in it, but not too much, so I'm hoping that'll get going too. So the plan is to use a Ferris rod and kind of, see if I can get a fire going right here, just to kind of, with the materials I have, get it in here, get this fire going, and then start putting larger items on the fire. So that's kind of what the plan is, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so let me move this just a bit. So what we have here is plan to use a Ferris rod. It's so-called a fire steel. It's the official name, I forget what it is, but anyway, the point is you can strike metal on it. Turn this around. I think it's Ferris serum or something like that. It's the official name. That's the plan. Get that over there. So we're going to go ahead and bring some of this over. Kind of set this down as a baseline to hopefully catch something. I want to see how this does just by itself. I've got these leaves and I've got some other things over here that I can put on it, but this stuff looks pretty dry. It looks like it might go up, so let's see. So before I go and make my life harder than it really needs to be, you can use your knife sometimes to strike these. I've got a SE6. It's got a coating on the back, so I can't use that. So I'm just going to use the little piece that the steel that comes with it. I'm going to try to crunch this stuff up a little bit more, get it all together, and make sure that the sparks I do actually do go into it. So there, I've kind of tied it all up a little bit, put it into made a robin's nest or something out of it. Okay, I went and I got some additional leaves. Not quite sure, kind of some form of a poplar looks like, but they were really dry. They looked really dry at least. So I'm going to kind of take my bird nest that I had and really try to grind up this stuff and put these in here and see if I can get this stuff to go. This looks pretty flammable, I guess is the right word. Okay, now let me put my gloves on here. Kind of banging up my hands down into that rock just a little. Let's see how this works. These look really combustible. It's kind of hard for you to see, I guess, but we're getting some great sparks down in there. They're just not quite getting off. And there we go. So we're going to get this over into the fire, get some things on that we know are going to start going like this. Keep my Ferris rod out. I'm going to go ahead and get some sticks on. Make sure I don't lose my Ferris rod. Start getting some a little bit bigger sticks on there. Still small. These leaves are going to go pretty well. Some of them are a little wet underneath there, but all in all, this should be pretty good. Also need to try to take as much advantage of those leaves burning as I can to get some of these larger logs on there before it all burns up. I'm gonna not get too creative as far as the way I form the fire right now, because speed's important. I'm gonna get these things on there and then start making a little bit of a teepee. You know, once you have a little bit of a base. I'm gonna move this out of the way to make sure it doesn't get burnt up. So let's just start getting stuff on it. So just kind of trying to lay around in a pyramid. You know, you could start a lot of this in advance, have it ready. There's so many leaves in there, I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. But you want to definitely allow a lot of airflow underneath it. As you can see, I'm just continuing kind of put things around it. Don't want to go too crazy with too big of logs because they're not going to go that fast. This is some pretty good wood. It's been sitting out here for a while, so it should all go up relatively well. So you see the size, you know, everything's about, you know, around that size is good. So nothing's too crazy. I'm just sticking to the pattern of kind of making a pyramid as I'm going through the smaller wood and then moving up to the bigger stuff here in just a minute when I run out of the smaller stuff. It's getting really cold. It was like 30 degrees last night. We're here in Georgia, but it started, this is actually December 30th, so tomorrow's New Year's Eve. In fact, it's been warm, unseasonably warm. It just turned off kind of cold lately. Okay, got just a few more smaller sticks. I'm going to make sure maybe we'll start putting some bigger things on. And then we can break some more in here. That's more of our bigger stuff. Now, if this was a survival situation, of course, I don't want to, you know, burn this much wood this fast. But this is really more of a backyard situation. Just trying to get it up and going. My family's doing some shopping or something, but they may be back. So there's a possibility we could be out here later. So anyway, fire's going. I'm gonna move this camera so it doesn't burn up. But pretty good fire with a Ferris rod, fire starter, some dry tinder from around here, and got it going. So anyway, got a lot of good wood. If you look around your terrain, there's a ton of good wood that I can use around here. So I'm gonna start scrounging around. I've got some good medium-sized stuff there, a lot of bigger stuff up on the hill I can use. So I'm gonna start scavenging around, getting some wood, bringing it down here, and getting ready for a great fire and great evening. So thank you for watching. All right, so I've got the fire going over there. I've got to get some bigger wood. I found a nice long log. It's dead wood. It's been laying out here in the woods, but it's too big to set on the fire. I've got to cut it down. So one technique, you could sit here and chop at this thing, and that takes a while. And to show you how you would do that, you would take your thumb and kind of go through like this and wrap it to where it makes it where it can't really come out of your hand. See how it's wrapped? And then I'm holding it further back on the knife, and then you can essentially use your knife just like a regular hatchet, right? So, and this is an SE6 is the knife I'm using, which is outstanding, by the way. And you can see, and one thing I forgot to mention is, just taking a piece of wood and laying it out here and trying to cut on it, if the wood moves, it's not going to work really well. But you need to put it on something. Here's another log laying here, so you can put it on something like this. As long as it's not moving, it's more stable, and you're going to get more efficiency with your chops. I'm going to show you batoning, but since I'm already kind of well into this thing from a chopping standpoint, I'll go ahead and show it to you. Okay. Just kind of once you get a pretty good handle on it, you can, a lot of times you can just break it. That might still be a little too stiff. There it goes. So that's essentially using your knife, and you need a heavier weighted knife. This is an SE6, as I mentioned, but get the majority of the tree down. Now I've got a nice log for the fire. So that's one way to do it. Okay. Hey guys. So earlier I was showing you how to chop with a knife and use the chopping motion and the weight of the knife and the force you generate to be able to cut through a log. One other mechanism on bigger logs that hopefully can save some energy would be batoning. So to baton, you want to have another piece of wood like this, which is the baton. You don't want to use dead wood because it can splinter, things like this. What I have here is a piece of a dying dogwood. You can tell it is it's kind of messed up on the inside. It is dying, but it hasn't died yet. It's still solid and would make a great baton. And so what I'm going to do is use the force of the baton on the knife to function a little bit more like an axe. For safety, you want to go ahead and make sure you put your lanyard on your hand so it doesn't just come flying off. Again, you want to find a solid log so there's no movement in the wood. You want it just like chopping an axe or anything. You want it on a solid foundation when you're hitting it. Of course, back up a little bit. And you want to do the glancing blows just like you would with a regular axe. So you take your baton and your knife with your lanyard on, position it kind of at an angle, and then hit into it. And then to get it off, you can fight with it, or you can hit the wood and do like that and get it out as well. Then come from the other side, just like you would with a hatchet, and back over here. And the knife I'm using is an SE6. This is a great knife, as I've mentioned before. So go ahead and take some good wood out, and go ahead and flip this over to the other side. Make sure you're hitting on the same place, and then go ahead. And there you go. So ideally, using less energy than it would take to chop through this thing, you would just use a few blows with something heavier that is solid wood to generate more force and get through the wood faster. So pretty solid piece of what looks like another dogwood that was laying up there, but pretty solid wood, great knife, and leverage, and a lot of force generated from a baton. So that's how you baton a piece of wood. quick and dirty, batoning wood.